So yeah, here we are, Adobe Acrobat. So this is, you can download this as part of the Creative Cloud suite. This is the home page that will immediately pop up. What's really great about Adobe Acrobat is the tools are immediately available in order to edit and organize all your PDF files. So once you've exported your portfolios and design journals, you can then take those exported files and begin to edit them if necessary within Acrobat Pro, and also view them at the same time. So let's click See All Tools here. So here we can see all the tools available to us. And what is most important to us is this top line, which is create and edit. Creating a PDF, obviously you can create PDF from any format such as Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, etc. But we're already creating PDFs in InDesign, so we don't really need to use that option, but that option is there. The one that we are commonly going to use is combine files, which is combining multiple files into a single PDF, and also organizing pages, where we can look at deleting, inserting, extracting, or rotating pages within an exported PDF file. And there are also options to edit PDF, so you can edit text and images, which isn't commonly used because we do that all in InDesign, obviously. But this tool here, Export PDF, is super useful as you can read in the little thumbnail. You can convert a PDF into Microsoft Word, Excel, PowerPoint, and more, so you can backwards export. And this is really useful if you have really large drawings, huge vector line drawings that you might export from CAD or as an InDesign page, but the size might be too big. So what you can do is you can take that singular page out with organized pages, and then what you can do is you can use this tool here, Export PDF, and convert it into a JPEG, which reduces the actual size of the file, and then you can place it back into InDesign and work with that if you're looking at reducing the size of huge vectorized drawings. There are other subject areas within Acrobat, such as forms and signatures, which isn't really applicable to us. Share and review can be useful if you're sharing PDFs from computer to computer, or comparing files or sending for comments. This is usually what we tutors would use, so it's not something students really use, to be honest. But what is really useful, which is something that I didn't know at the time of university, is that in the protect and standardize area, there is a tool called Optimise PDF, which is reducing the PDF file size, which I think I'll go through shortly. But this is something that is really key if you export your InDesign file and it's over 100 megabytes, and you're thinking, oh my god, I've got to export, upload this to Moodle and it's too big. How do I produce a file size? So the first port of call, Acrobat Pro, look at optimizing the PDF, but I'll run through that later. So the first thing we're going to look at is combining files on Acrobat. So we want to see combine files here. I'm going to open the files. So you might have several things you want to combine. So I'm just going to give you an example walkthrough of something that I would do. So for example, you have a portfolio and you have large drawings that you're doing in a separate document, and you want to bring them all together. So you have A2 portfolio, you might have A0 drawings. So what I would do is I would organize my files as such in a portfolio file, where I have, for example, my 3 booklets, large drawings, and a project portfolio that I would have all exported from InDesign, kept in a style. So I will open a portfolio, and what happens in this window now is you get the project portfolio PDF in the window, and you can see there's multiple windows behind it. So to open that up for editing, we can click on that, and in this small bar window, we can see the circle with the arrows, and this will expand the view so we can see all 35 pages. For the purpose of this demonstration, these are blank documents, but they are colored pages. So as I go through the example, you can see what I edit, add, arrange through the different colors. And in the next example for portfolios, I'll use my own portfolio. But for this, for just combining files, we'll do it through color coding. So as you can see, the portfolio is the red sheet, so there's 35 pages in the sheet. And then I also have 2 large drawings that I've done, but I want to put it into this PDF and combine it into one. So what I'll do next is add files, and then I would select my large drawings PDF, and I will add it straight in at the bottom, as you can see here. And then I would expand that as well, and that includes the 2 large drawings that I've done. Now these large drawings were done at A0 size, and this was done at and the portfolio was done at A2 size. But what's really great with this Acrobat is that you can click and you can drag and reposition the pages. So I might want to reposition my first large drawing after page 20, and then I might want to place my second large drawing as the penultimate page, and that way reposition that inside here. So then I can click combine once I'm satisfied with that. And what that does now is it creates a binder, which is the updated version of that PDF. So as you can see, portfolio at the top, and if you go to page 21, the first large drawing will be there. And if you scroll down to page 36, the second last drawing will be there. If you zoom out, you can see that so the landscape A0 size compared to the A2 portfolio pages, you can see. And then back up at page 21, it's the portrait A0 size. So that is all integrated within this PDF. Now to save that, you'd obviously go to File, Save. And you get this pop-up window, you want to save it on your computer, and you'll save it in the portfolio destination folder. So you click, and then you can name it as combined portfolio. And you can save, and there you have it, and that's ready to upload. So we can close this now. And then what is exciting now is we can look back at the tools, but maybe I want to organize my pages even further. So I can click on Open Organize Pages tool, and I can select the file that I just made, Combined Portfolio, reopen that. Now with this particular tool, organizing pages gives you a whole lot more options, such as rotating pages, deleting pages, extracting singular pages, inserting pages, replacing pages, splitting pages. And you can split the document into multiple files if you have such a large document. And there's more tools here per se. So for example, if actually my large drawing 1 is actually a landscape, I can then rotate that as such and rotate my second drawing back into portrait if I import them incorrectly at the same time. And nothing is affecting, I don't have to go back to InDesign, reopen everything, make sure all the links are there. I can just directly edit the finalized PDF file through this. And then once you arrange that, maybe the last page is also an A2 portrait for drawing purposes, you can rotate those individual pages as such. Then you can click File, Save. That will save it, and you can close. As you can see, the last page, as I just rotated it to portrait, is already rotated, ready. And if I scroll up to the penultimate large drawing page, that's now portrait. If I go to page 21, that's now landscape. So that's a really key tool to use once you've exported it, just to double check your work, just to make sure everything's rotated sufficiently and everything's ready to reduce the file size, ready for upload. So I'm just going to close this now. So with organized pages, again, you can rotate, delete, insert, and combine files is combining multiple files into one single PDF. But you might wonder, oh, this is a bit bloated, can I not just do it all in InDesign? And the answer is yes, you can do it all in InDesign. So what I'm going to show you now is how to do that in InDesign. So you might not know how to create singular page sizes to accommodate large drawings within your portfolio InDesign file. So I'm going to go to my InDesign and Images file where I save all my project work, and then I will go into my project portfolio, have that open in InDesign itself. Wait for that. So as you see, all loaded, brilliant. So as you see, 35 pages. This does not include the PDF I've just edited because that was the export of this file. So what I want to do now, for example, is tell you how do you import an A0 page into an A2 file. So what the first thing you can do is to create another portfolio page, but use this tool here called the Page tool, Shift P on the left hand side. Now what you can do is select the specific page, and you can here at the top rule bar you can change orientation of the page, But also, more importantly, you can change the size of the page. So you can change it accordingly to make it larger. So for example, we're going to make it A0. So it's 1189 by 841. And that's a landscape A0. I'm just going to scroll down there so it's all ready. So you can see, so there you go. There's the landscape A0. So what I'm going to do now is duplicate this because I have two A0 drawings. Both of them, actually, I've decided they're going to be portrait. So I can click on the tool, make them both portrait, and then what I can do is take my large drawings PDF that have the two large drawings in, drag it into my InDesign file, large drawing 1, and so yeah, large drawing 1 is imported there. And because I have the page tool selected already, that cancels that option. But I can then place back in line drawing, large drawing number 2. So some of you might think, well, it's only importing the first drawing of that file, of the two drawing file. This is a really important tip now. So when you import a file, but you want more than one PDF page to be entered within a InDesign document, when you go to your import, so Control D, Command D, you can click Show Import Options. And when you click that, open, it will bring this pop-up window. So as you can see, by default, InDesign will only import the previewed page, which is large drawing number 1. But if I want both drawings, I will click All. And then by clicking OK, it will import large drawing number 1 and then large drawing number 2, which is the landscape. So we can delete that PDF import there. Then we can marry up this to the page. And using the page tool, I can then make that landscape, and then it fits in perfect. And then as per InDesign page management style, you can then click and drag and drop your drawings within the page and edit them appropriately and accordingly. But as you can see on the scale of the pages, your portfolio pages remain A2, but your large drawings are imported at the A0 size scale. And you can amend and edit the individual page sizes using the page tool. This is really useful, so you can make extended pages, etc. And this is a really important way of integrating your large drawings into your portfolios without losing anything in between that and your design journal or booklets. And then you can then just go to export and export that as a standard PDF, and that will already be arranged accordingly. Right. I'm not going to save that. If you have, for example, a few booklets which are quite thin that you want to include, but obviously for the upload reasons, you need to combine them into one. I have an example for you now. So obviously open up Acrobat Pro, open Combine Files, Add Files. And so I have 3 small booklets that I want to combine into one. So I might have a site booklet, a user booklet, and some sketches in a small booklet that I've prepared. So I'll highlight all 3 booklets, add the files. As you can see, booklets are in. And if I want to go into more detail, I can expand the booklets, as you can see, by the color coding. There they all are. And what's really important now is that we can combine all 3 into one file. So that's ready for upload as such. So we're going to combine that. And as you can see now, Acrobat is very quick at combining, working its own programs. So booklet 1, booklet 2, and booklet 3. And that's in one file. And as per the previous example, you can click File, Save, and that saves accordingly. Super useful stuff, super useful stuff. And obviously recent documents will appear in the home page of Adobe Acrobat. So that was looking at combining files, something that you will want to get used to and have a really close relationship between that tool and your InDesign file management systems. This way it's easier for you, especially to make corrections to your exported files when you go to proofread them before you upload them. So you might export your portfolio and then proofread that PDF and realize, oh, I missed out a page. So instead of re-exporting the whole portfolio, you can just export that one page from InDesign and insert it through Adobe Acrobat, which might be easy on your computer and your processing of that for the software. So the next thing we're going to look at is reducing the size of your files. So the best way to do this is the first port of call is Adobe Acrobat. I previously mentioned the tool Optimise PDF. This way it reduces the PDF file size, enables for fast web view, which is great for uploading files to Moodle for submissions. And before I get into this, I'm just going to suggest that also, if you don't have Acrobat or are unfamiliar, you can also go to the internet and use a website that I like to use called smallpdf.com. And this way, to the internet, you can compress PDFs. You can reduce the size of your PDF without losing quality. You can convert. It's basically Adobe Acrobat online, which is a very, very easy tool to do. So you upload your files as such. So I'm going to, for example, now, moving forward, I'm going to use my own portfolio. So as you can see, 613.2 megabytes, my final portfolio. Sometimes it's larger than 200 megabytes. So this is a really important point, actually. So now that it's larger than what some websites can take, let's use Adobe Acrobat. So we're going to click Open, and I'm going to select my portfolio. So my final portfolio, 613.2 megabytes. Just export that from InDesign, all finished, all large drawings placed in, click Open. And what's really, really great with Optimized PDF through Adobe Acrobat is that you can play with the options. So if I click Advanced Optimization, you can begin to play with PPI for images, looking at what qualities we're using from maximum to minimum, and it's default set to medium, 150 PPI. This is a very similar pop-up window to the export window you receive in InDesign, but in this Acrobat, you can look at images, fonts, objects, etc. that will work towards optimizing your PDF file. So you might find it easier to export your InDesign portfolio file at the maximum resolution possible, but then import it into Adobe Acrobat and use the default settings of compression to medium quality for upload and fast web viewing. So if I cancel this, so then I have everything, make sure all the files and all the pages are correct. So there's 43 pages in here, so that was correct. And the reason it's 43, the reason why it's over 40 pages is because it was a printer portfolio where I referred to larger sheets. But for your hand in, it's 40 pages or less. So we're going to click here now. We're going to reduce the file size. There's options to reduce single files or multiple files, but we're going to use the whole file. So we're going to reduce this file size. I'm going to save it in portfolio. So I'm saying final portfolio reduced size. I'm going to click save. As you can see in the bottom right, Adobe Acrobat will work to reduce the PDF size. It might take a minute or two, but that's good because it means it's really crunching down. It's chewing off the fat basically, so it's lean and ready for upload. Sometimes you might find that it reduces PDF sizes to above 100 megabytes, which is fine, but that means we can go back to the InDesign file and work through the export presets, which I'll go through next. But using Adobe Acrobat as the kind of cherry on top once you've finished your portfolio and exported everything is the first port of call when it comes to organizing your files and reducing the size of them. And then once they are reduced, you can then perhaps get them to smallpdf.com or compressing PDF websites where you can compress them in a very, very quick and easy manner. I remember compressing my professional portfolio down to under 10 megabytes from 500 megabytes. So it's really key and really good that these softwares can actually work as such. As you can see, it's working its way, reducing the PDF size here. And that's really useful, especially for your portfolios, for your design journals, and for your large drawings if you have any. Sometimes you might find it easier to reduce the file sizes and then organize the pages together, and then reduce them again even further if you're having upload. So it's kind of how you take that. So here we go. Look, wow, look at that. Successfully reduced PDF size from 584 megabytes to 75.49. That's really, 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 really good. So we're going to close this now, and then I'm going to open the reduced size. And look, it looks exactly the same. Exactly the same. And that's just really good, really, really, really great stuff. So that's taken off 500 megabytes, just under, for the upload. And now I can upload my portfolio happily, knowing that it's 25 megabytes less than the required size. And this portfolio was cramped with pictures, drawings, vectorized drawings, images, photos, collages, illustrations, and text. So for a heavy portfolio, for me, this is a very successful reduction of the size. Now, there might be queries how to do this from the foundation of the actual InDesign file. So let's go to, so let's go to the portfolio file I have. So let's go to combined portfolio. And we're going to open this in InDesign. So project portfolio, here we go. Similarly to the Adobe Acrobat reduction of file size tool, Adobe InDesign's export options also are very familiar in terms of how to organize the qualities of images and files. So we usually go to File, Export, and you save it as Project Portfolio, Export, and then today's date. Yeah, so you want to export it as a print file. And then here's where the important stuff happens. So obviously we want all the pages to be selected because you want to export the entire portfolio. Then where all the magic happens is in the compression section on the left. So similarly to the Adobe Acrobat window, we have a similar window here looking at color images, grayscale images, and monochromatic images. And what you can do, instead of playing with pixels per inch, you can just click the image quality, and that will adjust accordingly. Which is really, really, really helpful. So you can go from maximum all the way to minimum. Average is quite good. Medium, similar to Adobe Acrobat, to export medium, and then you apply that to all the grayscale and color images within there, which is super, super successful and really, really useful. And always optimize it for fast web view, so it's easy to be viewed online once you've uploaded it to a place, for example Moodle, as you will as such. Particularly what's really interesting with this option is if you want to export a certain drawing, so you might have a plan or a section that's really, really heavy with lines, a really, really heavy vectorized drawing that you've imported from CAD, and you've put your drawing in your page, and you've added text in the bottom left and right, and you've organized it accordingly, and it's really beautiful. But for example, that it's way too high, the sizes are way too high. What you can do then is specifically export a single page. So you can then, if I want to export page 35, my last page here, but I want to export it so it reduces the actual file size, then I can export it as a JPEG. And now what's really good here is that when you export it as a JPEG, it saves as an image file, and you can adjust the quality and resolution as such. But what's really great is through this exporting pages individually, it's not a problem, because then what you can do is you can collate them in a folder on your desktop and then take all of that into Adobe Acrobat and use the Organize Pages tool and combine the pages together through that. So don't worry if you think InDesign is too fiddly and you're having to export page by page because of file sizes. Don't worry, as long as you save them into one location, you can bring them all into Acrobat, collate them all, organize them all, combine them all, and then reduce them in size if need be. As we've previously seen, is my portfolio went now from 500 and whatever it was down to 75, which is a huge drop off and a really successful outcome, an actual PDF export at the highest quality. Okay, so that is reducing file sizes when it comes to looking at Adobe Acrobat and Adobe InDesign, which is something to get in the habit of, something really, really, really useful. So that's Optimize PDF in the protect and standardized areas, and also combine files and organize pages. This is a really interesting one here, export PDF. So as I mentioned before in InDesign about exporting a single page as a JPEG, you can do that through Acrobat. So you might export your whole PDF and it's humongously big, or you might export a large drawing that's humongously big from InDesign and want to place it into your master portfolio file, but it's too big, you want to place in a JPEG to reduce that file size whilst you're working on it. So you can click into export your PDF, and this, you can export your PDF into any format. So you might have a CAD drawing you've exported from CAD as a PDF, but the PDF might be huge. So what would be great is to then take it into that and export it as an image. And through this, you can select JPEG or a TIFF. TIFF is for much, much higher quality images. JPEG is your standard image. And you can also work with file settings here, similar to the export options, and play with how high quality you want. And that's really exciting because it gives you so much more pathways to import images and drawings into your master file instead of clogging up your InDesign page with huge, huge, huge PDFs. And this way you can then begin to archive drawings as images quite nicely as well. This is a really good habit to get yourself into as you start to collate images as we ramp up towards the final hand-in. There are other formats as well, and web page formats, Microsoft Word, etc. But that's stuff that we don't need to figure and play with. But images, sure. I'm just going to run through an example. So we're going to go to a image. So my big research drawing, which is a huge research drawing that I did. So this is a huge PDF. I'm going to just have a look now at the actual size of it. It was 100 megabytes itself. It's huge. So what we're going to do is we're going to take that into here through select file. Where is it? Sorry. We're going to go to desktop, teaching, big research drawing, open. As you can see, it's collated JPEG, medium quality, export. We're going to save it in the portfolio, big research drawing, JPEG, save that. And then, as you can see, it's working in the background to sort that out. And then as soon as that is available, as you can see, it will always show you in the bottom right the actual loading bar, which will help as you get to grips with export. You can unfortunately only do one export at a time, so make sure you prioritize your major drawings and pages you want to export or reduce or combine as such. It's really useful, especially for your design journal or booklets, because obviously they won't be the same as a portfolio file, or maybe you combine them all into one. I'd keep them separate, so your portfolio and everything in your 49 pages and your design journal and supplementary material in a separate file. And seeing how well the reduction in size was from Adobe Acrobat, then that would be no problem in terms of having less than 100 megabytes per file. And something really useful, especially working towards third year, knowing that there's going to be a lot more work coming out that you're going to be doing, a lot more research, sketching, etc. So it's really great to already run these tools to really harness the power of Adobe Acrobat Pro. And obviously this is part of the Creative Cloud Suite, so you can download this alongside, Photoshop, Illustrator, InDesign as well. And Adobe Acrobat really is the kind of the glue that is stuck in between the Holy Trinity from my previous sessions. So it makes sense for me to go through this. Acrobat speaks across all three softwares, such as Illustrator, Photoshop, and InDesign itself. So we're just going to wait a minute for this to save as a JPEG. And then we're going to look at the actual file size and work from there. See, for example, how we can work with an image and reduce that, make sure it's included into the actual portfolio as such. So here we go, bish bash bosh, right near the end, done. So we're going to close this window and we're going to go to the saved location, so to my portfolio folder, big research drawing, as you see, saved as a JPEG. And you get some information on this. As you see, wow, it's now 7.4 megabytes. So much less. That's like less. Not good math, so I'm not going to do a percentage, but it was 101 megabytes before, and now it's 7.1 for this huge 2-meter long drawing. And let's open it. As you can see, great stuff. Look, the quality is still really good. Really zoom in, see that. Cool. And then that can be combined and introduced into a portfolio. So then, as we said before, let's open the portfolio, and then we're going to drop in project portfolio, and then we're going to drop in the big research drawing. And what's really great now is with this, the research drawing might come halfway in the portfolio, which breaks chapters in between. You might break your portfolio in half, like the first half research, second half development. Then you can click combine it, packages into one PDF, and then if it's the right size, if you don't need to reduce it, you can go straight to upload, or then optimize your PDF if it's too large a file. Cool.